In this video, let me start first with a question. How many techniques, useful techniques, do you think you can pack into this fly? Super simple fly, body, dubbing, ribbing, hackle, that's it. 3 materials, but how many techniques do you think you can incorporate into this simple fly that you can actually apply to so many other flies and get some benefit from it? So in this video I'm going to discuss it, and if you stay until the end you will see all of them obviously. And now I'm going to jump into materials and show you how I do the fly after materials. So for the hook I'm using classic wet fly hook. I'm sourcing it here in China, so number 7301 doesn't make much sense to you, I guess. But it's a wet fly hook, barbless. I love barbless, definitely. Ribbing materials. Ribbing material is ultra wire in tan color, small. Very good. Nice contrast to the body. Then for the dubbing, I'm using my own blend of some squirrel, some green dyed squirrel as well, and some UV dubbing in UV calibatis. Now, the hackle is also a hen that here in China I sourced it on the street, literally. I saw a man selling some chickens. I saw a very nicely colored hen. I showed him, like, I want this one for my soup. And when he wanted to just remove the skin and stuff, I said, no, just kill it. I'll do the rest at home. So that's how I sourced this feather. You can use any wet fly hackle that you want. Partridge, I don't know, whatever, hen, whatever you can find, just use it. Even CDC, it would be great fly. And for the thread, I'm using Semperfly by, Nano Silk by Semperfly in 18/0 red color. That's it. I will need some hackle pliers, and obviously I will need bobbin holder. That's it. You need scissors, and that's all. So without any further ado, let's hop into tying fly. So first of all, let me start with the jam hitch. Well, reverse jam hitch. Jam hitch would usually start here, going conventional direction and so on. But because I want to lay a thread foundation, I'll just go with my thread from behind and over the hook, and then I'll wrap a couple of wraps conventional way, and then just put this tag to the front. After 1 or 2 wraps, I'll just pull tight on the tag, and at this point you can actually cut the waist. Now let me do that. And if I cut the waist short but with a still tag on, if you go fast and with your thread, if you push with constant tension, your tag will go and wrap around the hook. In this case it's absolutely not important because this tag is very thin, because I'm using this thin thread. But let me just do it one more time. If you go loose wrap and pull towards you, loose wrap, pull towards you, means that your previous wrap is actually pushing down on the tag. It will not wrap around the hook. It will not spin around the hook, not wrap. So why I did this? I did this for a very simple reason. I want some thread base before I mount my wire. Now, obviously, hook has 360 degrees along the shank, so you can put wire wherever you want. Usually, you decide on that whether it's more convenient for you to put it on the near side or less convenient visually to put it on the far side. These are most often used ones. You can put it on the top, on the bottom, whatever you want, but I usually do that near or far side. Now, if I don't use tail, like in this case, I'll just wrap it here on the near side. If I use tail, I'll wrap it on the far side, so the wire, when I start ribbing, will go under the hook, avoiding the tails, and then over, avoiding the tails again, directly into dubbing or other body material. That would be it. Now let me just spin the bobbin holder counterclockwise so the thread jumps into my hand, and then again pulling up to pull down, I'll just wrap this so I don't spin the wire around. It's less likely to happen with hard materials like wire, but still, why not practicing it? Or you can just hold it with your other hand and then just go fast with your thread around. That's also very okay. Now the next material is, as I said, this nice little blend of squirrel, some UV dubbing, just for some sheen. I'll just, because I want to go closer to the hook shank, I'll just invert the hook and I'll go. Now you can choose to dub thinner or a bit thicker dubbing noodle. With thinner, you will get thinner body obviously, and the wire will actually show much easier regardless of which direction you're going to wrap it. But if you make thicker noodle, as I will do it now, relatively thick, not too thick, I'm just building up in layers this noodle, so I have maybe even some taper in it, but layering it will make it much more durable and easier for me to wrap consistently. So as you can see, it's quite nice and tight dubbing noodle, not too thin. When I see some place where it's a little bit thinner, I'll just pinch small amount of dubbing and make it thicker over there. Now let me see if I need some more of it. I'll just wrap. So I'm wrapping, dubbing nicely. Okay, remember to leave enough room for your hackle over here and for the head. Now this should be enough. If I decide to wrap wire in the same direction as I wrap thread, it can happen that wire just goes in between those wraps that I just made and blends in. If I decide to do it in the opposite direction, it will just pop up and like it will be more visible, as you can see it here. Now look where is my wire ending. So you can just decide to tie it off like this, cut it with your scissors over here, and by cutting it with your scissors or even breaking it off, you'll have a sharp edge pointing upwards, and when you go over it with your thread, it will, two things can happen, maybe even more, but two things occur to my mind right now. One, you can cut your thread very easily, especially if you cut it with your scissors. If you break it off, you will have to cover it with your thread, creating a bump over here which doesn't look so good, and more importantly, it prevents your hackle from wrapping nicely. So what I will do, I'll just invert it so I can see it better a little bit, sorry for this. So I'll just have 1, 2 wraps, and because, so you can see it's 2 wraps over the wire, and now by keeping the tension on the bobbin holder, I'll place the wire along the shank, and I'll just use, oops, what? I cut my wire at the sharp edge of the eye. Now let me just save the day by cutting the wire far, placing some wax on my thread so it doesn't slip. I'll just grab it here. Luckily it's very thin thread, so it doesn't make any buildup over here. Okay, now I was saying I want to place wire along the shank. As you can see, what happens here is when I break off the wire, I don't have anything that will impact wrapping the hackle too much. Now, as you can also notice, my thread is here, it's not near the dubbing. It's important for the next step. Now, I have a hackle, it's a hand hackle. I'll strip all this upper part because I want to get into this part of the rachis that's kind of flattened a little bit sideways. More accurately said, this surface over here that has barbs on it is kind of flat. So that's why when you wrap your hackle, your barbs actually tend to go perpendicular to the hook shank. if you go into this part over here, it's very likely that barbs will just go along the shank or the other way. They will definitely make you some trouble. So I will pull away those tips, catch it with hackle pliers over here, and I'll fold the feather. So the side that goes first against the hook shank will be folded. So those barbs will be folded. So I'll just place my thumb so I prevent feather from turning around, and with my finger I'll just push those barbs all to one side. The goal is to create kind of V shape of barbs with the rachis in the middle there. I'll show you that in a second. What this allows me is to wrap this hackle very nicely, and this is something that it's easier to do with some feathers than others. This feather is relatively easy to do. Now let me just cut this and leave a tag. As you can see, I left one tag. Now counterspin the bobbin holder so the thread jumps into your hand, and catch this tag by the tip. Catch it. You can decide to catch it like a little bit deeper if you want, and then pull it out, and then just go away. Now at this point you have relatively flat surface that you will wrap your hackle around. I'll flatten the thread again, and I'll go back towards the hook eye. Now you will see the benefits of folding the feather. So flat surface, I'll just flatten. As you can see, there is a V. Well, now you can see it. There is a V, and because I'll wrap it this way, conventional way, after each wrap I'll just make another sweeping motion like backwards, and as you can see, this hackle wraps beautifully. Try to place the rachis as close to the previous wrap as you can, and then just wrap it nicely, gently sweep it backwards. I left intentionally a bit more barbs here because I like those flies with well, more hackle, more barbs sticking out. I just like it. Now I have bare rachis to work with here. There are no barbs coming out and being in my way. I'll do the same as with wire. Just catch it with a couple of wraps, and then I can place it along the hook shank, especially if I'm going to mount some wings over here, creating again a flat surface for everything to come. But because I'm not going to put some wings now, I can actually cut the rachis and whip finish the fly. Whip finishing the fly should be always done with a flat thread, because if you don't have flat thread, you can actually break your thread very easily. So I'll just do it, and because I'm working with GSP here, I want to do it 2 times. One, it's thin, so it doesn't have any build-up again. Waxing it, it will prevent slippage again. 2, 3, and 4, creating nice, very delicate head over here. Now you saw me making a mistake in the video as well, which is also good. We can all learn from mistakes we make, and that's it. If you choose, you can obviously varnish the head. I usually don't do that, that's why I do 2 hand whip finishes, but that's it. So guys, as you can see, such a simple fly that incorporates so many different techniques that are useful not only for this fly but for many other flies. So I hope you like this video, I hope you find it useful, and until next time, tight lines and keep safe.